After the Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 12 released and tied the series perfectly into Revenge of the Sith, many of us still have one big question remaining. What happened to the clone trooper Kix after the end of the Clone Wars Season 7? Is Kix still alive after the Battle of Endor just like Captain Rex? I'm going to break down exactly what happened to Kix after he became suspicious of the inhibitor chips inside of every clone and exactly where he ended up. So before we dive deep into it, remember to subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as I release more incredible Star Wars content. At the moment, only a small 3% of you who are watching this are subscribed to the channel, so if you do enjoy the content, let's get that number boosted right up there. Not long after the Battle of Anaxis, where Kix fought alongside the Bad Batch, he started to become suspicious of the reasoning behind the killing of Jedi Master Tiplar by fellow clone trooper Tup at the Battle of Ringo Vinda. He began to conduct an investigation into the incident after he had discovered that Fives may have known the truth behind the killing. Eventually, Kix did learn the truth about the inhibitor chips inside of the heads of every single clone and knew of the order to eliminate the Jedi, Order 66. His investigation of the inhibitor chips did not go unnoticed for long, with Count Dooku taking notice of the investigation. After learning that Kix's knowledge of the chips was far greater than they ever expected the clones to discover, he ordered his separatist droids to kidnap him immediately to prevent him from informing the Jedi Order. After his capture, the separatists then interrogated Kix to find out whether or not he had spread the information to anyone else within the Republic. Kix, however, had an extremely tough resolve and refused to give any information to his interrogators, even under heavy torture. This led the separatists to transport him back to Count Dooku personally for even more intense interrogation. Leave a comment below if you know how Count Dooku likes to interrogate his prisoners. I'm sure you can guess. They then stored Kix aboard a separatist cruiser known as the Obrexter 3, where he was frozen and placed into a cryostasis pod, freezing him until his arrival on the homeworld of Count Dooku, Sereno. Moments after the separatist cruiser took off, it was ambushed by Republic forces, with the shields being lowered and in an extremely vulnerable state. The Republic forces obliterated the cruiser, resulting in the loss of primary engine thrusts. The separatist droids aboard the ship made the swift decision to send the ship into hyperspace, regardless of the severe damage it was carrying, taking the ship into a random sector of the galaxy where the Republic would have no chance of finding it. The separatist droids only did this because their orders from Dooku stated, "Do not let Kix fall into the hands of the Republic at any cost." After a long trip in hyperspace, the cruiser burst out near the desert planet of Ponamar, where it made a brutal crash landing on the surface. The ship and all of the droids on board lost power and would remain lifeless for many years after. Kix was also stuck, frozen within his stasis chamber aboard the crashed ship. Although Dooku was never able to capture and interrogate Kix, his freezing aboard the separatist cruiser for many years meant that the Jedi never discovered Order 66 and were not able to prevent it. Exactly 50 years after the end of the Clone Wars, a Delphidian pirate named Sidon Ethano, or the Crimson Corsair, and his crew were drinking in a cantina on Ponamar, the same planet where Kix was frozen alive. While on the planet, the band of pirates managed to discover and decode a residual emergency signal coming from the ship, which dated all the way back to the Clone Wars. As the ship was crashing, B1CC14, a separatist battle droid, desperately sent out this distress signal. The pirates traced the signal all the way to the wreckage of the crashed separatist cruiser, where they were forced to fight off other bands of pirates and mercenaries who had also discovered the crashed wreckage of the ship. Once the Crimson Corsair and his crew had arrived at the wreckage, they were shocked to discover that there was no treasure at all, but instead a cryostasis pod. The group decided to awaken the cryopod, in which Kix emerged after 50 long years of being frozen. Wow, what an amazing journey for Kix, such a beloved clone, frozen for 50 years. As Kix awoke from his long slumber, he was shocked and began rambling in nonsensical words, urgently attempting to inform the pirates about what happened. Once he was able to speak properly again, he told the pirates that he had learned a shocking truth about every single clone in the Grand Army of the Republic. He told them how he was kidnapped after Count Dooku discovered that he knew about Order 66 and was a major threat to the plan. Kix, of course, had no idea just how long he had been frozen in the wreckage of the ship, making him call for General Anakin Skywalker so that he could inform him about Order 66. This is absolutely tragic, knowing that Anakin did in fact participate in Order 66 and stormed the Jedi Temple. As Kix was explaining the whole situation to the bewildered pirates, B1CC14, the battle droid who sent the ship into hyperspace, awoke from his low power mode and triggered an emergency protocol on the ship, which awoke all of the other droids on board. This began to make the ship crumble, forcing the pirates to grab hold of Kix and escape the crumbling wreckage. They rushed to the escape pods of the ship, hoping to blast away from the wreckage before it exploded. Unfortunately for the group, there was not enough room for every pirate, causing the Crimson Corsair to bravely shove his men and Kix into the pod while standing to face his destiny on board the wreckage. Over the next 3 weeks, the pirate crew remained stationed on the desert planet waiting for the return of their captain. Kix was still in a massively deep shock over everything that had happened and everything he was learning about the history of the galaxy during his time frozen. He was also extremely upset at himself for being unable to stop the destruction of the Jedi Order. The crew are then shocked and excited to witness the return of their captain, the Crimson Corsair. He arrived just as they were about to give up hope and leave the desert world. During his time stuck on the cruiser wreckage, he uncovered a separatist memory core which contained a complete map to every hidden droid factory ever built by the Separatist Alliance. After handing this information to Kix, he offers the clone trooper a position within his pirate crew, to which he gladly accepts, having no other purpose now that the Clone Wars have long passed. After joining the Crimson Corsair's crew, Kix stopped shaving his head, growing out his thick black hair and a long beard. At some point down the line, Kix and the Corsair, alongside a red Twi'lek known as Reveth, were ambushed by B1 battle droids while they were patrolling a misty swamp. These droids were now considered ancient relics of the Clone Wars, and that is exactly what happened to Clone Trooper Kix after the end of the Clone Wars Season 7 and Order 66. Overall, I really hope Kix's story with his new band of pirates is continued through the comics and further TV series. But let me know what you think. Do you think Kix will outlive Rex, who fought at the Battle of Endor? Or do you think Kix will last much longer because his aging was frozen inside of the cryo tank? I'm sure we'll get a whole lot more answers about this question very soon either way. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as I release more awesome Star Wars content. Thanks again so much for watching. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.